Hey there. Ready to level up those decision-making skills? We're taking a deep dive into game theory today.
That's right. And we're going to show you it's not just some stuffy academic thing.
We're diving deep into La Teoría de Juegos.pdf.
We're going to uncover how understanding just a few key principles can really give you an edge in everyday situations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whether you're negotiating like a pro,
Or even just trying to outsmart everyone else for the best checkout line at the grocery store.
game theory has some really surprising and useful things to offer.
Absolutely.
Okay, so think about this. You're at an auction,
Okay.
trying to snag that vintage record player you've had your eye on forever.
I've been there.
Right? The bids are flying.
Yeah.
And you're suddenly caught in this, like, strategic dance.
Exactly. And that's game theory in action.
Yeah.
Our source actually mentions how the U.S. government used these very same principles
Oh, right.
to rake in billions of dollars in those radio frequency auctions a while back.
Wow.
But it's not just about governments making bank. What's really fascinating here is the heart of it all.
Okay.
It's this. When we get how people respond to incentives, how they're going to act next,
Right.
we can set things up systems,
Yeah.
to make sure everybody benefits.
So knowledge is power. Got it.
Yeah.
But how do we actually use it? Let's break down some of the big ideas.
Okay. One of the fundamental building blocks here
Yeah.
is this idea of the rational player.
Okay.
Now, hold on. This doesn't mean everyone's out there making perfect Spock-like decisions all the time.
Oh, absolutely not.
We've all made some head-scratcher choices.
Our source material even uses this example of how somebody might be all about chocolate over vanilla,
Sure.
but then turn around and spend their entire paycheck on designer shoes.
Instead of rent. Yeah. The point is game theory gives us this framework.
Okay.
To understand how people make decisions, even when those decisions seem kind of irrational.
So it's less about judging and more about understanding.
Exactly. And that leads us to another biggie. Expected payoff.
Okay, love a good jargon term. Break that down for me.
Think of it like this. Every decision you make, it's like a gamble with potential wins and losses.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you.
Expected payoff, it helps weigh those possibilities,
Okay.
taking into account how likely each outcome is.
Can we get an example? Something relatable?
Sure, imagine you're deciding whether to buckle down and finish a project.
Ugh, been there.
Or go to that concert you've been dying to see.
It's a tough one.
Right. On one hand, working late could mean a promotion, more money,
Okay.
but that concert could be legendary.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
Calculating the expected payoff means looking at the whole picture.
Yeah.
Not just the immediate reward, but also how likely you are to actually get it.
And let's be real, sometimes the odds just aren't in your favor, no matter how badly you want something.
And that's where game theory gets really interesting, because in most situations, you're not playing solo.
Oh.
You've got to factor in what other people are doing, how their choices might mess with your plans.
So it's a strategic dance, like you said.
Precisely. And that brings us to this really insightful concept, the prisoner's dilemma, but we'll save that for after the break.
Stay tuned.
It's a good one.
The prisoner's dilemma.
Okay.
Okay, that sounds kind of ominous. What's the deal with that?
Well, it's this classic scenario in game theory. It really highlights that clash between cooperating
Okay.
and just looking out for number one.
Right.
So picture this. Two suspects
Yeah.
hauled in by the police.
Right.
But here's the thing. They don't have enough evidence to put them away for good,
Ooh,
unless they get a confession.
Okay, I'm hooked.
So they separate these two,
Right.
right? And they offer each one a deal.
Juicy.
Here's how it goes. If one suspect spills the beans rats out their partner,
Yeah.
they walk free.
Whoa.
The other one, though, stuck with a long sentence.
Oof, that's rough.
Now, if both of them keep quiet, they both get away with just the slap on the wrist,
Yeah.
lighter sentence.
Right.
And this is a big, but if both of them decide to confess, they both end up serving a decent amount of time.
Okay, so each one's got this choice, right? Stay silent or throw their partner under the bus.
Exactly. And here's where it gets kind of wild.
Okay.
From each person's point of view, confessing always seems like the best way to go.
Really? Even if they stay silent?
Even if, let's say, your partner keeps quiet, you confess, boom, you're scot-free.
Okay, right. True.
But even if your partner confesses too, you're still better off also confessing.
How so?
Because then you both get that moderate sentence.
Right, instead of one of you taking the full hit for it.
Exactly.
Wow. So
Yeah.
you're saying, like, even though the best outcome is for both to cooperate,
Right.
the rational choice for each person individually
Mm-hmm.
actually leads to a worse result overall.
Yeah, it's like this weird paradox.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of a downer, honestly.
Yeah, it is. And you see this playing out all the time in the real world.
Really?
Our source talks about the tragedy of the commons.
What's that?
So imagine you've got this fishing ground everyone shares.
Hey,
Everyone's acting in their own best interest, right? Trying to catch as many fish as possible.
makes sense on the surface.
Right, but then the fish stocks, they get wiped out.
No.
Everyone loses in the
It's
end.
because they were too busy competing with each other instead of cooperating.
Exactly. It's this tough lesson.
Yeah.
Sometimes what's best for the group
Yeah.
means having to rein in our own selfish impulses.
So are we doomed to just repeat these cycles of messing things up?
Not necessarily. Game theory's got some ideas about how to break free from these dilemmas.
Okay.
Remember, expected payoff?
Yeah, vaguely.
Well, when we're talking about games that are played over and over,
Right.
a new element comes into play. Reputation.
Oh, so it's like if you're always trying to cheat the system or screw over your partner,
Yeah,
people are going to catch on eventually.
exactly. Word gets around.
Right. Yeah.
And that's where strategies like tit for tat come in.
Tit for tat? What is that?
It's pretty simple. You start by cooperating,
Okay.
but then you just mirror what your opponent did last time.
So if they cooperate, I cooperate.
Yep,
But if they betray me, I betray them back.
exactly.
So it's all about keeping things fair and balanced.
Right. It's about rewarding good behavior
Yeah.
and making it clear that bad behavior has consequences.
I like it.
And what's amazing is how effective this simple strategy can be.
Really?
Yeah. Even in super competitive situations, our source mentions this other strategy
Okay.
called Vengador.
Vengador sounds intense.
It is. It's from evolutionary biology. And it totally changed the game for this one species.
Wow. So even in nature,
Mm-hmm.
these kinds of strategies can help push things towards cooperation.
Precisely. It's like this hopeful sign
Yeah.
that even when it seems like everyone's just out for themselves,
Mm-hmm.
there are ways to nudge things towards a better outcome for everyone.
I love that. So we've talked about the prisoner's dilemma,
Yes.
how things change when you're playing the game repeatedly.
Right.
But what about other situations where cooperation is key? Our source mentions some really interesting examples from the animal kingdom, like dunflies and bluegill sunfish.
Oh, yeah. Those are good ones.
Tell me more. I gotta know. All right, dunflies, spill the tea.
Okay, so we've got this fresh cowpat, right?
Detailing.
And to these dunflies, it's like a singles bar. The males hang out waiting for a female to show up.
So romantic.
Right. But here's the thing. The males have to figure out how long to stick around.
Oh.
Wait too long. They might miss out on other hot cowpats.
Right. Makes
So leave
sense.
too early. Some other fly might swoop in and steal their girl.
It's a tough game.
It is. And get this, researchers have actually seen these dung-flies acting in ways that game theory totally predicted.
No way.
Yeah, like they understand this idea of expected payoff without even knowing it.
Wow. So they're like tiny little strategists.
Totally. They change up their game based on how big the cowpat is,
Okay.
how many other males are there, even what time of day it is.
Wow, that's wild. Okay, what about the bluegill sunfish? What's up with them?
So bluegill sunfish, they've got this crazy mating system where you've got these different types of each with their own strategy.
Right.
Some males, the parentals, they're the big guys, build nests to attract the females.
Okay.
But then you've got these smaller, sneakier males called sneakers.
Sneakers.
Sneakers. And they try to fertilize eggs in the parental's nest when they're not looking.
No way. So it's like they're getting away with something for less effort.
Exactly. And it gets even more complicated. There are also these satellite males that pretend to be females.
What? To get close to the nests.
Yep, it's wild. But game theory helps explain how all these different strategies can exist together.
That's amazing. It's like nature has its own set of rules.
It really does. And each strategy, it's got its pluses and minuses.
Right.
How well they do depends on what everyone else is doing, too.
It's all connected. So we've seen how these concepts play out in nature. But let's bring it back to us humans. How can we use all this game theory stuff to up our own decision-making game?
That's the big question, right? Now, obviously, we can't predict the future perfectly.
Right, if only.
But game theory, it gives us this new way of thinking about our choices. It's
Right.
about being strategic,
Okay.
considering not just what you want,
Yeah.
but what other people want too, and how they might act.
So it's about anticipation, like thinking a few steps ahead.
Exactly. It's like
Yeah.
you said before about the auction. It's a strategic dance.
Right, you've got to be ready to react to your partner's moves.
Exactly. And remember, our decisions, they don't happen in a vacuum.
True. Sure.
They're part of this bigger system with
Right.
tons of moving parts.
Yeah, this has been super insightful. I feel like I have a whole new toolkit for understanding the world.
And the best part is, this is really just scratching the surface.
There's always more to learn.
Exactly. Game theory, it's got so many different angles and applications.
So for our listeners out there who are ready to dive in and make some power moves,
Love it.
where should they go from here?
Well, our source material is a great place to start. It's got tons of fascinating examples,
Okay.
and it goes deeper into how game theory works.
Cool.
But honestly, the best thing you can do is start looking at the world through a game theory lens.
Oh, I like that.
Look for those patterns in how people act.
Okay.
Trying to figure out what's motivating them, what are their incentives,
Yeah.
and then think about how you can use that knowledge to your advantage.
It's like you're a detective of human behavior.
Exactly.
This has been amazing. Thank you so much for taking this deep dive with me today.
My pleasure. It's been fun.
And to everyone listening out there, stay curious and keep those strategic minds sharp. Until next time.